And welcome to another episode of the Jay and Rob Toy Show. Yet another unannounced episode of myself. And of course, he's waiting in the green room at Studio Bartlett, ready to get in here and wiggle his woggle around, all for your viewing pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, the hoggle to my Jareth, Mr. Jay Bartlett.
Well, good afternoon, everybody in TV land. I'm glad we're doing a radio show again. I call it the radio show.
The radio show that's heavily dependent on visuals. Yes, it is the thing that we do. Of course, we've been wildly inconsistent, so that makes everybody feel so good when we decide to actually hold up our end of the bargain, where we actually do these things when we said we are going to do them regular. And of course, we've just been sidetracked left, right, and center. Jay, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I saw you a little bit this morning, and we'll get to your news. You have big news, I heard, for everybody. But I saw you this morning dropping off a few things at my house, and it was good to see you. Your beard is looking crazy. I wish I could grow that, but there's no shot in hell I'll ever be able to do that. So I get to live through you that way.
It's a pure pandemic beard. If it wasn't for what we're dealing with, still and in the early stages of finally emerging out of, this wouldn't be here. I'm glad it's been a benefit. It's important to look at the silver linings of, our struggles and our stripes over the last year and a half, depending on where you are. Oh man, I'm so excited to talk. There's so much to talk about. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls watching at home, it's not for lack of not wanting to be here. Jay and I have, slowly been able to get back on the chatting train of everything toys. There's just been so much happening behind the scenes. And yes, we do have lots of big news, but we have lots to talk about as well, because there's tons of stuff going on in the toy world as well. I want to give a big shout out to, of course, our good friend, Tater the Toy Guy, who's saying, "What's up?" from Scary Movie. What's up? How's it going? You don't collect toys. In fact, he's back to being a video gamer. He's going to Classic Game Fest this weekend to eat some pizza and play some video games, have some tenders.
Yeah, dude. Nathan, what's up? We were talking the other day, and again, I can't say much until the big announcement, but we've been talking quite a bit back and forth. And I saw that
Nathan knows. Fine. I didn't know that Nathan knows. Jesus.
Well, he's part of the gang now all of a sudden,
yeah.
Which is great. And he's got some new shelves in his shelving house, which I saw. He puts that giant Mythic Legions gargoyle or troll or whatever it is. Yeah.
Nice troll.
And a bunch of other things there. So he's getting a nice toy room, which is really cool.
For a guy who's not much of a toy guy, going back to December of last year, Tater the Toy Guy is in full form now. He's getting all his shelves. He's got his shelfies. He feels good. He's lighting up his dollies. He's putting a light on what makes him who he is. His soul is being illuminated, just like the dollies all behind Jane. Oh, it's good to be back, brother. We got lots to talk about. We've got two pieces of big news. Should we say one now or save them both for the end? What do you think? What should we do here?
I think we should save them. Let's get a few more viewers, and then we'll just talk some toy crap. And then when we got some more viewers near the end, we can let her rip. Or I guess you could see the views. So when you think we have enough, let her go.
Well, given that this wasn't planned and completely unannounced, I am not dependent on viewers. This is going to be something where I'm sure people are going to catch it on the after show, so to speak, or as their leisure. We're doing it in the middle of the afternoon, folks. That's, again, we're completely unprofessional, and you get to pay the price for it. But we are here, and you know what? That is fine as well. Jay, look, you moved into your current establishment about a year and a half ago, and I have moved as well. As people might tell from behind me, it is not the same look as what's been on previous episodes. This look will change. I'm using the cam from my monitor, my computer monitor. It's not the usual high-end HD, hurt my eyes brilliance. But I tell you, man, is there anything worse than moving when you're a collector? Wholly painful.
No, and it's funny, since we've started this podcast, you've had 3 different locations, which is crazy. I've had 2. You've had 3 though, but mine was moving from the upstairs down to converting this basement into a studio. You've actually moved residence a few times, so you've had it way worse than me just going up and down the flights of stairs. There's nothing worse. I love planning where everything is going to go and hang, but the actual physical work of it. I think the worst part, I don't know, you tell me what you think. The worst part for me is packing it up. Oh my God, I can't stand packing it up. That is my worst part of the whole experience.
Oh, it's unpacking for me, because it's easy to put stuff in a box and organize it and carefully wrap it, or however you want to control stuff and get extra boxes so nothing is crammed in when you put the lid on. But when you're just staring at a room stacked full of boxes, it's so overwhelming, because
Yeah.
you look at a wall or something, and like the wall behind you, for example, all those Star Wars figures, those are not going to fit in one box. And at some point, one box isn't going to be full. So you're not going to have like 4 full boxes of Star Wars figures. You're going to have some box that only is half full of Star Wars figures. And then there's Brave Star stuff in there. And you're like, where's that box that had the rest of my Star Wars figures with this other stuff? And trying to remember where everything is, if you're not taking critical notes down at every step, it's just a nightmare. So the unpacking is the worst for me, hands down.
Yeah, and then we were talking briefly in the driveway about putting the figures on the walls specifically. The shelves are not as bad, but trying to fit everything so it looks nice and you have all the same boxes all together. Yeah, that's a pain. I'm looking forward to not doing it again, hopefully ever. So that's the
Yeah,
plan.
but we both know collections grow and change and evolve over time. So while we might have walls of figures behind us in a certain way, we're either going to get more and we want to put them up together with them, or we're going to liquidate and change because there's something cooler out there that we want to, swap. So I don't think a collection is ever set in stone. For what we do, I just want to make sure I have a really nice backdrop for the things that we're filming. And I've got a couple different angles right now. I'm not happy with what I've got, but I like to change things up, and I think it's important to change our collection. Otherwise, it gets stale. You don't notice things as much; they just disappear.
Yeah, I don't mind rotating, but I'm talking about full room changing. I mean,
yeah,
I didn't ever dream in my wildest imagination. Did you ever dream that this room, and you know this room very well, that this would be the toy room? I never thought that would ever happen. So quite grateful that way. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
I don't know
I can tell
how
you.
Much. Yeah,
sorry. Go ahead.
I just gonna say I don't know how much bigger I could want it, so I'm pretty blessed that way.
Well, there's never enough size, whether you're dealing with one single bookshelf or an end table, or just the surface of a cabinet, or an entire house or room or mansion. Your collection will constantly grow to match that. So pick something that's manageable within your budget and figure out how you want that collection to go. That's always been our case, and I've gone from I just want these figures here, or I just want these figures on a shelf, to having a second shelf put up, and then a small room, and then going on. But I can tell you this: when I moved, there was an entire 15-foot U-Haul truck with nothing but collectibles in it, and that was the scariest drive that I had during the entire move. It was the easiest thing for me to pack because I was so motivated to get everything in the boxes and over and organized. And
Yeah.
I don't hire movers. I just sling it out, get it done. But between the shelving and all the figures, stuff that's on display, not on display, stuff that's loose, it was an entire 15-foot truck, pack sealing the floor.
Yeah,
it's a lot of work.
And taking those corners, that's, oh man, that's pretty scary.
I only had 4 turns that I had to do, so that was pretty good for me from going from my place to another. So lucky. There was a roundabout though, and that was touch and go for a while. Nelson saying he changes up his dials quite a bit. It gives me an excuse to play with his toys. Nelson, of course, is being featured in tonight's episode of the Jay and Rob Toy Show TV edition, which everybody can check out on Super Channel Jinx Esports TV Canada. Get a nice tour of Nelson's Ramas out there with all his dollies. And yes, Dave has told us, Nelson, that you've got a few new additions to the collection, and you've been building and doing lots of stuff as well. So Jacqueline saying, "What's up, peeps? I'm in the same predicament with collecting just different genres and franchises. How to separate them? I'm struggling with knowing what would look more conducive to my husband and I's game room." Yeah, it's always hard. Again, things changing. You get new pieces. Where does it fit? How does it go? Does it become the center of attention? So things got to move away. It's a tough one. Here's a fun one for you, Jay. I came downstairs to discover that my basement toilet has now been completely clogged this morning. Now, I don't know if it was just what's happening, with my dietary problems or what's going on, or we're living in a pretty old house now and the plumbing isn't quite good. And I thought, what is the toy collecting equivalent of a stuck toilet? And I three or four thoughts went through my head as I'm trying to clog the toilet. And yes, everybody, there is a happy ending to the toilet clog. It flushed. Everything is good. I was worried because it's right next to the toy room. But what is the equivalent, you think, of a stuck toilet or plumbing problems when you think of collecting?
Oh, that would be you look at one end of a shelf or you look at one end of a table or whatever, and you're just like, why the hell do I have this stuff? Why did I buy it? It's literally clogging up this area of the room. It's clogging up the shelf, and I need to liquidate it. I think you might be going through some of that soon, but I'm the same. That would be my my kind of version of a clogged toilet. Would be looking at just stuff and being like, why the hell did I pick up this 8th He-Man figure? Like, I don't need this. You know what I mean? So
Interesting, because
yeah.
I was going a different route. I was thinking that it's the problem when you keep going to, you're the same store, or you keep, kind of looking for that figure that you can't even find, and you're just stuck, and you can't progress as a collector in any which way. And that's when you get tempted to buy stuff that you're not really into. You're just trying to buy something so you feel like you're making progress. So when you're stuck and you go to a store and there's no new selection, there's nothing there, and the experience of going just isn't the same. That was like a clogged toilet for me. I thought, oh man.
That's good too. Yeah, I mean, I can relate to that as well, especially if you're a modern collector, which I think most of us you can't help but to be a modern collector. The extreme frustrations of this year alone. Yeah, that's a good analogy for a clogged toilet. That's for sure, especially if you like Hasbro, G.I. Joe stuff.
Oh, we'll be talking about that soon if you want as well. Nelson's chiming in
Yeah.
with a comment. He says, what's the hardest to display in your guys' opinion? I find the box stuff the hardest to display as opposed to the carded, which you can hang on the wall. We were talking about this today as well, Nelson, the difficulty in, like Jay said, putting the cards on the wall, the pegs, and how some box stuff works as well. Jay, what's the hardest for you to display, do you find?
Yeah, the carded stuff, the deluxe figures, if I look at stuff like Marvel Legends like Venom or Toxin,
Sure.
the 80th anniversary Iron Man, Thor, that stuff, the deluxe Black Series like Grievous, anything that's just a bit too thick. There's usually a tag for it to go on a peg at a store, but to do, like, I have a certain size tack that I use, they're all the same.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want is all these different colored nails of lengths and that sticking out of the wall. So I won't do that. So if it doesn't match the length of a normal size box, it doesn't go. So I have a couple of shelves with the Keldor Origins 2-pack and like Venom and stuff like that. And I find even go back to your shot for a sec. Yeah, so to your right shoulder there, your turtles and that. See, I don't want that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
again, I'm not happy with this. This stuff over here, the Super 7 stuff,
yeah,
fits so nicely in these shelves because it's
but I just
square.
mean
But
that whole shelf there. That I have one that looks just like that,
I
and
was
you literally
surprised. Yeah,
there's literally like 8 things on it, and you just kind of think like, what a waste of space. Because you can't. What else do you do with that stuff?
yeah.
Right?
This stuff here is like 2 rungs deep, and they're
Yeah.
stacked back there too. You can't see them, so you get a choice of what you want to look at, and it not good for me. And same with the bottom shelf down here. You got the Club Grayskull stuff, however do it. And, there's tons of stuff behind it, but from a display, yeah, I was surprised. And good eye on the shelf too, brother. That shelf was in this house when I moved in. And the owners are like, oh, no, you can totally have it. I'm like, oh, this is a vintage Bartlett shelf. My dollies are going to look extra special on this thing.
Yeah, I do love my wood grain old school like cottage look. That's my thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice for sure. Lots to talk about. I agree too. The oversized packaging that doesn't fit with everything that's uniform is really tough to make it stick in vehicles and play sets. How do you put that on the wall? But lots of stuff to talk about in the world of toys.
Yeah.
We can go path A, which is Masters of the Universe Revelation, which drops in just a few days, or we can talk about Haslab Galactus. And I'm very curious about both subjects, so I will let you choose which topic we hit first.
Well, let's start with Galactus because I figure He-Man will be a more lengthy discussion. Galactus, I saw the trailer. I don't know if there's more than one. If they're doing tiered, if they reach a certain tier, you'll get Surfer with it or you get Fire Lord. I mean, I'm hoping they'll do that. It's $400 US, which is actually a lot better than I thought. I thought it was going to be much more expensive than that, but what was it, like something crazy, like 300 points of articulation or something, like 40 in each hand, or and the eyes light up, whatever his crown lights up and that kind of thing. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's 32 inches tall, which is enormous. That's bigger than Omega Supreme. Yeah, it's bigger than Omega Supreme from War for Cybertron. It's a gorgeous piece. I see Scott's in the chat, Retro Universe. We were talking about that actually the other day, and it's like, it's great, but where the hell are you going to put that thing? Where are you going to put that, right? Because I was toying with the idea of getting it. It would be my first Haslab kind of thing. And I'm really, really back into comic books the last year and a bit. So I was thinking about it. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, this is why I'm really curious to hear what you have to say, because you've really jumped headfirst into Marvel Legends specifically. And you've been collecting a lot of comics as of late. And then along comes Haslab, which is speaking, to both of those equal passions of yours. And I thought, okay, I know you passed on the Razor Crest. You missed on Jabba's Sail Barge, but here's something that's in your sweet spot that isn't overly pricey for what you're getting. It's different than the Sentinel, because I know the Sentinel, it's never really been a thing for you, but Galactus has always been, something that you've always enjoyed because of the Surfer connection. And yes, there are stretch goals that will unlock, and hopefully Surfer will be one of them. So I've been dying to ask you if you're going to get on board. I have jumped on board right now with it because the size doesn't worry me. I think it's a cool display piece. Every Haslab project is always, gone up in value. So if for some reason I fall out of love with it, it's going to be easy to find a home for it without question. I mean, Unicron is going for crazy money. The Sail Barge is going for crazy money. It's not about the value, but I think it's a cool looking piece, right? The scale is never going to be what it should be for something like Galactus. It should be like, 25 feet tall or something like that for your 6-inch figure. But yeah, I think it's a cool piece. I don't need the lights and the sounds or anything like that. That's a little bit of a layer of the icing on the cake. I think the stretch goals are going to be the thing that really convinces people. So are you in or are you out, Bartlon?
I am undecided. That's my answer. Yeah. I don't know. There's been a few Haslab stuff that I really loved, like the Jabba's Barge, of course, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to see how it goes. If they put Surfer with him right away, I think I would have been in, which is funny. The Marvel Legends Surfers, there's only a couple of them. They're both very expensive. So I think if they had to put him with it, I would have been more enticed to jump on right away, because I think he's such an important part of Galactus' story. But we'll see.
We're getting some comments here. The B-Man says stretch goals are going to be tough to reach. I haven't actually looked at what the numbers are going to be for that. I haven't looked since I backed when it was announced. I think, was it last week? Nelson saying he just can't get in on that Galactus. It's cool, but it's a pass for me. I was never into the cosmic stuff, and I'm hard into Legends. And see, I can appreciate something like that, to be honest, because there's so much Marvel flavors out there in the Marvel universe. The same with DC. There's the cosmic stuff, the real street level type stuff. There's the stuff that's in the middle, the factions. So I can appreciate not having to get everything that's Marvel Legends and just picking, your flavor and going with it. So, I'm sorry to hear that the Sail Barge was your biggest regret, but make sure that Galactus isn't your next one, Nelson. Even if you're sort of like it and want to go down the cosmic, I think of how cool a cosmic diorama might be in your basement, Nelson. Galactus could be the centerpiece of that.
Yeah, that would be actually really sweet. And I think you and I are on the same page. I think we like the city heroes, and then we like the cosmic stuff. It's the in between that I'm not a huge fan of.
It feels like it falls between the cracks. It's never cool enough for the in-between stuff to do cosmic level stuff, and they're way above any of the street level, incidents
Yeah.
that seem to transpire. So,
Yeah.
all right, let's talk it. You and I haven't talked really anything at all about Masters of the Universe Revelation. James Talk and I talked about it because, of course, we were, really promoting Faking Filmation. We talked about the first trailer. Since James and I have talked, a second story trailer has come out, but you and I have yet to say much of anything to one another on purpose because of our slogan, "Save it for camera."
Save it for camera.
And of course,
Lawsuit.
if we ever get to do these shows again, what do you think? Masters of the Universe Revelation, from the 2 trailers that you've seen, we're only days away from the first 5 episodes dropping.
I watched the first trailer, and that's it. I stayed away from everything save for an interview with Mark Hamill that I saw today on Jimmy Fallon, and they just showed like a 10-second clip of Skeletor talking. I think it looks fantastic. I was shocked as hell to see the Eternia playset within the first few frames of the trailer, and then I was like, oh wow, like that's, people have made comments about Kevin Smith. I don't think it's in any better hands than Kevin Smith. You can tell he loves the series. Like, to put the Eternia playset in there is huge for guys like us who are old school He-Man fans. I think it looks very much like the 2002 reboot, which I loved so much. I think it looks great. It looks serious. I'm sure there's going to be some jokes here and there, but it looks very serious, and it looks like it was made for our generation.
Yeah, I mean, it's very toy-centric, right? There's always been this talk since it was announced at PowerCon in 2019 that this is a sequel to the Filmation cartoon that you grew up and loved. And, that's not 100% accurate. And that's okay. It's more of, let's take the canon and the rules and the world and the characters that from the Filmation and, fairly the 2002 approach to some of that. And let's bring that forward for a cool 10 episode, overarching story. But because it's coming from Mattel, they're putting a lot of dependence on all those toys. Look, we've always said, a lot of those cartoon shows from the 80s are basically half-hour toy commercials. Well, kids, here's 10 half-hour toy commercials for everything you remember playing with. You get the Roton, you get the Landshark, you get the Bashasaur, you get Castle Grayskull, of course, you get the Eternia playset, you get Stridor, and all your favorite Masters of the Universe are there, including Teela. Imagine that. One of the Masters of the Universe, Teela, is there. Captain of the Royal Guard.
Before we get into all that,
Jay? What can't we get into just yet?
People pissing all over something that's not even been released yet. It reminds me of Star Wars fans, but anyway, I've lost track now because I'm so angry at this subject. Okay, let's just get into it. I can't remember what I was going to say now.
Toy centric, maybe.
Yeah, I just finished the entire 130 or whatever episodes of the original Filmation cartoon last summer. I watched the whole thing again, and I was shocked viewing it again at how much of the toys weren't in it, how many of the later characters weren't in it.
Yeah.
So this is really a love letter to us again as toy collectors and as He-Man fans, that we're getting to see all these vehicles that were from the original line and all these characters from the original line that never showed in. I'm not talking about the 2002 where all the characters look kind of different. I'm talking about the original stuff. So I'm excited, man. Yeah. If you want to introduce this topic, go ahead. I'm pretty angry about this whole thing.
Yeah. Before we go down that rabbit hole that I know inevitably is going to end with the way that all our Star Wars conversations end, and that's fine. I'm very excited for this. I think everybody at Netflix has done an outstanding job. My, bar of approval is like at anything at the level that DC Animation has done with their standalone feature films, their direct to video, Batman, Red Hood or Gotham by Gaslight, all those wonderful features that tell a complete story. Some are way better than others, but it's solid work being done by people who believe in the the canon, the core characters, and want to tell a good story. If we get that across 10 episodes, we are incredibly lucky. We're already incredibly lucky that we're getting this as Masters fans, because as we can tell, it takes 20 years seemingly before we ever get Masters of the Universe again. So add 20 years to however old you are now, because that's probably the next time we'll get it. if this stuff doesn't pan out, the 2 shows on Netflix, possibly the live action movie, these toy lines, it just takes 20 years for the cycle to happen. Let's talk about the problem. Let's talk about that problem, though, because that could be the thing. Or did you want to jump in with something else?
Yeah. Masters of the Universe has always been your baby. Star Wars has always been mine. And in 2001, when the adult collecting scene really kind of exploded, that was when you and I were talking about our favorite series, and Transformers was getting another series, Robots in Disguise. He-Man was getting the 2002 one.
Mhm.
And this is just my opinion. I don't think they've ever really done He-Man wrong. I think the New Adventures was kind of a misstep. I love the movie that they did, despite popular opinion, but I think a lot of people are warming up to the Dolph Lundgren movie as of late. But I think He-Man's always been treated right. And you're lucky, right? And I guess I'm lucky too, right? I have complete faith in the people that are in control of this IP, especially Kevin Smith, and he's a longtime idol of both you and I. His work is just incredible, so I'm looking forward to it. But there are some He-Man fans that aren't. Let's talk about that piss pile.
How could there? First of all, it seems like it's impossible for any fandom, whether it's, sports or movies or music, not to have a vocal minority that just want to piss on everything. And of course, when we're talking about Masters of the Universe Revelation, didn't you hear that there's a bait and switch that this is really the Teela show? It should be called Teela in the Masters of the Universe.
So
yeah,
what?
So
what? If you watch 130 episodes of Masters of the Universe, the original Filmation cartoon, she is in almost every one of them.
Yeah,
and not only that,
she's the main character in like 4 or 5 of them. Like, she's got like a very specific story, that is
her
just
story about the sorceress is her mother and all that stuff is just as important to me as who He-Man's parents are.
Yeah,
I find the core gang of characters, Duncan, Teela, Orko, they're all incredibly interesting, and I want to know all their origins. You get a ton of Orko origins stuff too in that show. So I never liked the fact that whenever they changed the title to He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, I always liked it just Masters of the Universe, and He-Man was one of the main guys. He would be the guy who would come and save everything in the end, sure. But there's these other heroes that were just as competent. And if I'm not mistaken, Teela was always captain of the guard. She was always a man at arms. So I don't understand what everyone's.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at the 2002 show, they did it in a really interesting way where it was almost Man at Arms was the leader of the Masters, as they kind of abbreviated when they talked amongst each others. And He-Man was this new hero that showed up, but He-Man never seemed like he was in charge. It was almost like a hot rod situation where he was guessing, his role within the ranks of all these. Clearly, he was an ally and was powerful and could really turn the tide of any battle. But Man at Arms was like the tactician, the leader, the strategist, and so everybody kind of looked to him in the 2002 series for the most part. So yeah, I'm down with the just Masters of the Universe approach rather than He-Man in the Masters of the Universe. There's obviously they want to point it at a certain character and brand it behind that name, but still, I'm with you. Teela, certainly captain of the guard, huge role, and I think it's kind of finally she gets to really carry the arc and make a huge impact. And I think that's awesome. Why not? If the story's good, that's all that matters. If the story sucks, then I'll say the story sucks. And it wouldn't have mattered if it was Teela, Orko, Ram Man, Stratos, Mechaneck. If the story's not good, it doesn't matter.
The very first episode of the 2002 reboot, Teela beats the crap out of Prince Adam, trying to teach him how to fight.
Yeah.
I don't understand why everyone has this big problem with, I don't even want to say empowering female characters. Why can't we just say she's a good character?
I don't think that's the problem people have. I think the problem that people have isn't that it's Teela. It could be Ram Man, I think. I think there are some people that are taking exception with that it is Teela, and Teela happens to be a woman. But I do think it's people are expecting He-Man to lead the way through 10 episodes, and He-Man seemingly is going to be gone for a few episodes for whatever reason. It looks like from the trailers, he separates the power sword so that the power is gone, and thus He-Man isn't there because he's not imbued with all of it. And much like the toy line in the mini comics with separate swords.
Yep. Yep.
So the quest is probably to reunite the halves, a familiar theme we've seen in so many different movies and stories. And Teela's probably the best suited for it. Maybe Man-at-Arms dies. Maybe somebody else who's a leader dies, and like it falls on Teela, who's probably reluctant to take anything up with the way things went. Maybe it just makes more sense that it's her. But we'll find out in a few days. And until then, don't complain about it because you haven't seen it. Wait until you watch it. And then if you want to tear it apart, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really shocked to see this kind of outrage from people on a
No.
Let me finish, on a TV show that hasn't been released yet. I mean, at least with Star Wars, for the most part, people waited till the film was out. They'd pick things apart here and there with the trailer, but they were all well received. Like with He-Man, it's like, and then they're looking up tweets from Kevin Smith from like 4 years ago when he said he wasn't a big He-Man fan. It's like,
so what?
Don't go back to my Facebook 10 years ago and see the dumb shit that I said too, or the opinions that I might have had that have changed over the years.
You're not allowed
ridiculous.
To change. You are not allowed to change. And yeah, I mean, there's an episode of Comic Book Man where he said, He-Man was a little bit past my time. I never got into it. It always seemed a little bit goofy to me. I think it was an episode when somebody brought some model sheets and some cells in. And, I remembered that instantly when he was announced as a showrunner on the show. I thought, oh, that's interesting because he wasn't really there. But then I thought, he's a writer. He's into pop culture. He loves Star Wars, and there's a lot of Star Wars elements in Masters of the Universe. This is probably a good fit because he's a professional creator and storyteller. Who else better to give the reins to than somebody who does this? He's written on, Batman and Daredevil and so many other things, stuff that he didn't create but left his print on. So I think he's as good of a choice as anybody, quite frankly. So
I agree. And you could tell that the cast that he chose, I mean, it's phenomenal. And
it's a cool cast.
Yeah.
We talked about moving, and I mentioned that the house that I'm in now is a little bit older. And Jay, I don't know if you've ever had this feeling, but in my new neighborhood, the house I'm in was probably built around 1960 or so. And so the entire neighborhood is like the same age. The neighborhood you're in is about 10 years newer. So it was 1970s or so. I went on a family walk today and I walked around the neighborhood a couple times. And all I can look at when I see the houses, man, is thinking, I bet there was He-Man and G.I. Joe and Transformers in all of these houses at Christmas time at some point.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Yeah.
It's all I think about when I look at these older style homes of a certain era, of a certain layout. I just think, oh man, somebody underneath that Christmas tree must have opened and seen Castle Grayskull underneath it, because they would have been around for 20 years at that point. If somebody moved in and just started a family in the late 60s, by the mid 80s, like, oh, all our favorite toys could have been in any of these houses, in these areas. And it warms me to think that, because the place I was in before I moved here was like all new and like only like 4 or 5 years old, and it didn't have the character and the charm that both of our neighborhoods have.
They're almost like soulless, right? I mean, those new houses are fantastic, but yeah, there's just something missing from them.
Character, charm.
And you know what? Like it appears that future generations are still going to have those same toys because they just keep manufacturing the same stuff over again, and we just keep eating it up, right? And I'm not complaining about it. I think it's great. So,
do you want to get to a little bit of an action figure spotlight, my friend? Do you have anything for this unannounced episode that we've kind of launched, impromptu?
I got a ton of stuff. I chose one that, do you want me to go, or do you want to go, or?
Oh, you can go first. Go ahead.
Yeah, I chose one that I just did a YouTube video on last week. So War for Cybertron. I love that line. Kingdom. I don't know why he's under the Kingdom line. I guess we'll find out. But he's already unboxed because I shot him. This is Galvatron.
Oh, wicked.
There. Yeah, he's humongous. He towers over Optimus Prime. He towers over Megatron. And they are all to scale with each other. Even the 86 line. Oh, there we go. Oh, the Matrix is moving. They're all to scale. You and I have both wanted this figure. He's like absolutely screen accurate. The only confusing thing, and I'm not complaining, is I always thought he should have been under the 86 line. He comes with the Matrix with the chain.
Yeah.
Which, unless they do that in Kingdom, which I really hope they don't copy that story. But then again, I guess you have to have Hot Rod, and Hot Rod has not shown up yet. So, but that Galvatron figure is crazy. He's very expensive. He's a leader class, which means just the size.
Yeah.
But he's friggin' awesome. Him and Hot Rod, man, they're going to be in my top 10 of the year for sure. Those two figures are crazy.
Well, Jay, there's a lot of year left, so let's just wait and see what comes out. Let's just say that.
Nope.
My figure is something that is new as well. I am actually getting new mail already at my new place, which is surprising. So let me just go full screen here. And that is the NECA Turtle 2-pack, Rat King and Vernon. So you guys can take a look at that. It's like every other NECA cartoon turtle variation here. There's tons of accessories, from the Channel 6 camera for Vern, which is, you know, you don't have to include stuff like that. You also get, I'll see if you can show it here. You get an alternate head for him right there too. The little rat
that's
face
when he
head
turns
there.
into the
and then Rat King kind of takes over control. You get all the little rats in here as well. You get all the gas grenades. But Rat King, man, has always been a character that you and I love. He's just a really cool villain. Not necessarily the main one, but he's just so fantastic. Of course, packaging is big and bulky, as you mentioned behind me there, and just takes up so much space. Tons of accessories, which I never need. I don't need 15 hands for all of these guys, but I remember when I saw this announced, I think it was last summer, as soon as I saw Rat King, I'm like, oh man, just when I thought I was done with that line, they come out with this. So totally cool. I hope everybody that wanted to get them had a chance to get them. NECA, this was one of the 2-packs that they released on their website, which is why I was able to get it. And I think I have an extra one coming as well, because rule of 2 with that one, because Rat King looks awesome. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. I drew the line, although I might have a lead on one. We'll have to see. That Rat King figure's damn cool though.
Yeah.
So the line keeps extending. It's like, I just want the original season 1 stuff, and then it leaks into 2, and it's leaking into 3. It's like,
well, I had to get the frogs. I've always said the frogs are going to be the last thing I want. I don't know why I like the frogs, and they just put the frog 2-pack Genghis and Rasputin, I believe, on the NECA site internationally. So I thought, okay, as soon as I get the other 2 frogs to go with it, and then I'm done. Attila and Rasputin, I think. I don't know. Can't remember.
I don't know their names. Yeah.
And then once I get them, I'm done. But then I just saw they released the Channel 6 4-pack. So you get Vernon again, with some alternate kind of looks to him. You get Irma, Burn, and Cat.
Oh, cool.
And Cat April. So she's got the cat head. And you get, cameras and other stuff in the background and a diorama to put them up against. That's like $200 though for those 4 figures.
That's damn cool though.
It's cool, but is it necessary? Is it
one of the
shelf worthy?
Is it shelf worthy? One of the grails I'm looking for from the Playmates line, and I only want it simply because it's rare, is the Channel 6 van. I really want to find that out there someday.
So repaint, everything on it is basically but it's cool.
It's the same as the Turtles van. It's blue and it says Channel 6, but I want it just because it's so rare, right? So
yeah. It's funny because I have an eBay search saved for that. So every day I get every little accessory that comes up on eBay, I get an email about it, and it's like, I can't do it. And then when they put like the April up because she's in the dark green uniform, can't do it.
Yeah, I have that for Fortress of Fangs right there because I'm missing 3 pieces to it. So every little Fortress of Fangs thing that pops up, I get a notification for it.
Nice. So that'll do it for another episode of the Jay and Rob Toy Show. Well, we should probably get to that big news, the big news for the big heroes that we've been teasing about. Oh yeah, them, put them up. We'll put up the big news, guys. There's 2 pieces of big news, which is really nice, and we're gonna put it out there because we need your help. You've probably seen in the last 2 weeks or so, both myself and Jay and some of our associates making posts about, hey, do you know any cool toy stores? Hey, do you know any toy collections out there? Anybody that wants to be interviewed for some of the upcoming stuff that we've got? And that's because we officially have some upcoming stuff that we're really looking forward to. Right now, of course, the Jay and Rob Toy Show TV edition is halfway through season 1 on Jinxie Sports TV Canada, which is awesome. Those guys have been outstanding partners from everything I've been able to create, from Nintendo Quest to video game box art, Action Figure Adventure Season 1, of course, and now the Jay and Rob Toy Show. And even though we're only midway through Season 1 of the Jay and Rob Toy Show, they have asked us to create a second season of the Jay and Rob Toy Show for another 10 episodes.
What?
Yep, for us to deliver late this year. Scheduling for broadcast hasn't been determined yet, but it'll probably be late this year, maybe early next year, depending on how things shift with their other programming. So we start filming Season 2 of the Jay and Rob Toy Show tomorrow. So when Jay talked about being in the driveway, I dropped off some camera gear, and we've got 10 awesome topics. If we can do more of these lives, impromptu, even if they're shorter than our hour and a bit discussions, we will try to keep you up to speed with everything. So, Jay, what do you think about that, man? That we got a Season 2 renewal?
Yeah, I mean, having 2 TV shows, that's pretty cool, man. I never thought, never dreamed that would happen, but it's just been an amazing journey. And then when you called me and told me about they want a Season 2, it was just like, wow, like that's crazy. And only after like half the Season 1 is showed too. So I don't know. I don't want to say I like watching us, but like when I was watching the episodes myself, the finished ones you sent me, I really forgot quickly. It was on my phone, right? And I really forgot quickly it was you and I. So I'm doing something, I would put it down. And I would just listen to these 2 guys who love toys, and it was really, really cool, man. So I'm super happy to be able to continue to do more.
Yeah, and they're fun to do without like it being too heavy or weighty. And there's a lot of play that we can have, and a lot of topics we can explore, and a lot of different figures we can showcase. Anybody that's watched it, has only said nice things. And it's a different beast than some of the other stuff that we've created, because it's not so, what's going to happen next. We get to talk about stuff and research stuff and showcase stuff, which is always so much fun. So Season 2 of the Jay and Rob Toy Show, it's coming. We start production ASAP. But wait, there is more. Jay,
What do
had mentioned.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Well, there's more. There's simply more to talk about. You mentioned that we have 2 TV shows, and Action Figure Adventure being the other one. They ordered 10 episodes when we brought them the concept. They said, "Yeah, we're in for 10 episodes." It was before the series was done, and so we had about a year to turn those around. We had shot all of it at that point, and Action Figure Adventure had done really well on their channel. And then COVID hit. It was like, okay, how are we going to ever do anything like this ever again? Which is how the Jay and Rob Toy Show, the TV version of what we do here, was born. But then this marvelous opportunity hit the world with these vaccines, and people have been getting vaccinated. Travel restrictions have been easing up, and toy stores have been opening again. So with that, and with some patience and with some clever strategies, we are going forward with Action Figure Adventure Season 2. Now, we think it'll come out in 2022. We have a delivery date for Super Channel for basically mid to late next year. Again, I'm not sure when it's going to quite broadcast. Probably in the December time slot, I would guess, given where Season 1 ended up showcasing. So Season 2 of Action Figure Adventure, production commencing soon as well. And the nice thing that I like from the producer standpoint, director, is that there's so much overlap, and even Faking Filmation. So when we go to someone's place and we can follow all the guidelines, PPE and distancing and taking breaks and shooting outside where possible, we can cover Action Figure Adventure Season 2, Jay and Rob Toy Show Season 2, and Faking Filmation, which is it's awesome that things are lining up and stacking that way. So Jay, Action Figure Adventure Season 2, brother. Go big or go home.
Yeah, I have chosen to go big because I don't want to go home. I want to go big. I'm not going to give any details. I'll leave that up to you. But it's safe to say that it's going to be bigger. It's going to be better. And I've got a lot of crazy ideas I've been kind of drumming up since we started writing it, talking about ideas for it. I'm so excited. It's my favorite thing to do is to get in the van with you and the crew and go hunt for stuff and just have a blast. And I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be cool to get out there. Some, calculated discussions about how we do that and where we go and what we capture and how we capture, but it is going to be bigger than what we did for season 1. It has to be. And I'm excited to see what comes of it as a result. So we're looking to get all this stuff in the can really soon so we can toil away in post-production and get it out to all you wonderful supporters out there. So thank you so much for all the support you give us, especially when we don't announce when we're doing episodes like today. You guys are all still there watching, sharing, spreading the word. That is huge support for us, and for, of course, watching our shows on Jinx Esports TV Canada and Jinx around the world, and wherever you find our content. You allow us to do what we do, so thank you so very much. It's huge. It's everything. Any last words, Jay? Where can people find you if they want to reach out or watch some of the content that you've done?
Well, right now I'm going pretty heavy on YouTube while we're in between shows. So my YouTube channel is Jay Bartlett. I'm catching up rapidly on Jay Bartlett the Exorcist. I'm actually only a couple hundred subs away from him, so he's going down as I predicted. I'm sure he's a lovely guy. I'm just talking crap. So YouTube guys, Facebook, of course, reach out. I always get back to as many of you as I can, as quick as I can. I do appreciate us talking toys online. And yeah, super excited to get back out on the road. And thank you all for the support of all our shows, our films, and our YouTube stuff. Thank you.
And you can find me at all the usual spots, mainly Twitter and Instagram at Rob McZob, or at Action Figure Adventure on Instagram, and at the Jay and Rob Toy Show on Instagram as well. Reach out. We like to get back from you. We cross-share a lot of posts, so you'll see some of the same stuff on each side. But hey, that's what we're there for, to let you know what's going on when it's going on. Jay, we end every episode with the same kind of stick and spiel, and I still like it. I don't want to change it. So here we go. For the love of toys and the warmth of scarves, take care of yourself.
And each other.
Because playtime, Jay,
is always the best friggin' time, obviously. Gosh.
And we got lots of playtime coming up. So thank you all. We will talk soon. Cheers.